It is September 12th, the day before Friday the 13th. And again, I'm not showing my face just yet. I'm going through this processing, but I just hung up with one of my crew, and when I talk to the three individuals that are around me now, then it tells me where we're at, and I start lining up and knowing what to come on here and share with you guys. And I just hung up with one um, who is another AB negative, that we're aligning this space programs, Andromeda, especially if you have Andromeda or Pleiades in your chart. Or if you don't, what we're going to be dealing with as an ascended mastered collective that has taken the entire history of the human race as it was reopened, because the book was reopened. There were two different sets of us writing in it. You had the matrix designers, which are linked into your presidents and linked into your red and blue and geocodes, and all of that is basically building matrix walls for lower energies and for vaccinated to walk in. You can really think of it like that. It builds etheric walls like Pac-Man, and through either your mind, your emotions, or your body codes, depending on what level you're at cleaning that out, because again, it's not a race. But what happens is your Pac-Man starts to lose all of its little lines. It's like Pac-Man's just picking up the dots. And then it's all of a sudden Pac-Man gets to the new screen and it's like, oh shit. There's no borders. There's no lines. I see the dots. So if you can imagine you're in a Pac-Man game and there's no halls, okay, but the dots are all still there. Now it's like, as Pac-Man, you can shoot off a gazillion different directions, right? I mean, you can go up into the far left corner and shoot down and be like, oh, well, I just cleared that line. I didn't get the whole line. I went in as a diagonal. Then you might pop up to the right, far right corner and shoot across, okay? Well, that's a great example of the world, us ascended, that are writing these timelines with the collective healings that were involved in a unison, in a team, whether or not you knew it or not. This is why you don't know the full plan. And the further that your frequency gets up energetically and connects in with this plan, then when you clear that crazy screen that has no borders on it, it just has the dots, and you level up to the next screen, then it's what you're doing is now bridging the two levels before on clearing it through the lines, because the rest of the collective is walking in that, and we do at this particular moment in time in 2024, not 2030, not 2028, not 2029. Because by the time we get 4 years from now, we won't even be worried about those bumpers that everybody else is in, those walls. But since everybody's been walking in those halls, those walls for so long, that is what time weaving is. You're clearing out the karma for an entire collective, because no longer does your family line get trapped in the building and burnt to death. One of you made it out. You making it out, and somebody then, because that's how the program rolls in the family. You get trapped in the building, everybody died. Every single timeline. That's what always happened before. Well, over the past 4 years, you made it out. You didn't die. The reason that you made it out is because a group of us were running around on a Pac-Man screen without any borders, and we were able to fly from the right to the left and pick that up because you had already learned that lesson. It shouldn't have been repeating. Technology shouldn't be screaming that down to you. Those walls shouldn't even be there per universal law at this particular time in the human history. Which is why you didn't, you saw it. Now, will everybody in your family lines all the way down to every connection throughout existence making out of the building? No. Not everybody. Because you have to remember that that's the same person who, if they have 100% have your DNA count, or they just have 5% of it or 2% of it, right? But no matter if it's 2024 or if it's 2024 a million years from now, that is going to be what you need to get out of per that sequence. There's going to be some moment in time where you feel trapped and there's some type of fire happening. Because it's recreating from a DNA line that needs to be finished. This and it has to be uncoiled from the planet and the rest of them so that all of y'all don't burn down. This eclipse. Hey guys. Hey guys. This eclipse, no matter where you go and look at it, is on the 17th and 18th. Well, this eclipse is going to line up, and I talked about this yesterday, at 25 degrees of Virgo on the sun, which is galactic command, which is energetically kind of like the crown of Sophia body, connected into the other etheric bodies that are overlapping that even, but most of the collective would be in that Sophia body. And then how that Sophia body was tuned into a galactic space station. How this Sophia body became a fairy. How this Sophia body became a fairy trapped in Pisces, 25 degrees, this is coming off the video I did yesterday showing you the colors. That's the hybrid space station. It's distorted, and it's disconnecting distortion, or reading the distortion. You know, when you get really into this and into these energies, and this is what we just talked about, like on YouTube. I'll give you an example on YouTube. You know how we listen to frequencies on YouTube? Well, there is a slight, if you're listening to it on YouTube, just like you're listening to a record that's been mastered, or there's going to be some type of distortion that's in the tone that you originally created. Because now you're going to upload it on YouTube. Now that energy, YouTube has its own weird ass little frequency. And YouTube's weird ass little frequency is totally different from TikTok's weird ass frequency. It's totally different from Telegram. It's totally different from Facebook for sure. And like WhatsApp. Like I can't even deal with those anymore. To the extent, for instance, with Facebook, one of the main things that we saw a couple of years ago working through this twin stuff, especially. So for another way, instead of just twin stuff, let's just say opposite energies. I'd be having conversations with people on chat on Google, and a lot of us have had this. And we would react. It's like you'd get this all over, like they just say they just say something, but whenever they say it, you automatically, your first instinct is to take offense over it, and it's almost it's almost like this distorted frequency was coming in with that message, to the extent that we would be blowing up, yelling and screaming at each other. And then if you go back and read it, I don't know, the first time it took me about a month or longer. Then I started doing it days at a time. It's like once I'd get over the energy, I'd go back and read it, and I'd go, oh my God, like I acted like a crazy bitch. Like, what the fuck? That isn't even what they said. Why did I pick that up? Because it's on Facebook. When you start understanding how technology does manifest down here, and whenever you start understanding that those technology codes are now in your etheric body, they're coming, those connections are coming out of your etheric body, because it is what formed technology, stringing a bunch of us together in order to make it, no matter what. Now that's electricity too, but when we're talking about technology, where images come up and people's voices come up and tones come up and messages come through, just remember that whenever you're using some type of technology app, it's going, those words and those visions are actually traveling through some type of veil. And so it is going to pick up some residue from that, because of the algorithms that are all written in YouTube. And everybody that's on YouTube, no matter if you're watching spiritual stuff or not, all the people that are on that app watching all these different videos are putting off one frequency at the highest. As you get lower and closer to it, it's going to be more categorized. But what you're dealing with whenever you're in and your etheric body is embodied, and you're connected in, and you know that you're putting out the energy with the collective for that to even reside in your field. This is why so many of us got shadow banned and this and this and this and this. But it's not to clear that off from us, from the collective, to because of our messages getting buried, is not something that a programmer is going to be able to switch an algorithm to. We started figuring this out a couple of years ago. When we were coming through this, we weren't going to be able to bypass tech. There was no way to just reprogram it, push some buttons and reprogram it, because it was already in play. There was only supposed to be one story written by the Matrix and the Aprons and the Masons, the same way that they had done it for eons by propaganda codes, but now they've added technology to a new level. But those technology codes at a new level are all going to be associated, and those frequencies are going to be associated to distortions. Your physical pattern, whenever you embody, is all put together. Whenever you're coming out of the matrix, you're made up of a whole bunch of distortions. You're having to put back your distortions into one energy, and then that energy blasts it out. That's why and how you start picking up the distortions in your communication with other people, and how you're picking it up and how it's making you feel. You're picking it up because that's a connection now that's inside your etheric body with the rest of the collective that's working as a machine to process that through it. So there is no other way to go through tech. You just gotta freaking plow through it and allow it to clear, and keep pumping your messages out, and and it will pick up a constant at some point again. You know, this is why, you know, whenever you're doing social media stuff, you just gotta stay on a schedule, and you just gotta keep it going. And as long as you do every single day, then it will create a new frequency, and that new frequency then will go out and grab new people. Okay, but then as soon as it goes and grabs new people and puts it in, then what? It changes the frequency a little bit, but that's okay. But it's also going to change your messages, because now you're talking to your audience of whoever's following you. So I'm telling you all of that to tell you that what I'm seeing and what's happening right now. Tomorrow is Friday the 13th. Tomorrow is Friday the 13th. And on the 12th, it starts. This stands for August 0 days. We had 4 0-point days in August. That are aligning to, literally, look, this is August. This all started on the 3rd, which matched up to January 3rd of this year, because we ran these same sequences and I didn't even realize it till after I knew it was happening. Here's our first 10 days, 04310. Then we get to then we get to the 12th, and it starts at 0. And then the 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th of last month that we're lining up this Lionsgate Libra gate, because this Lionsgate's on a new frequency now. It's actually running on 2 frequencies, this Lionsgate. This opened up and connected 2 different frequency panels. The 4 years that the Illuminati had written on you and the Cabal, or the 4 years that was changed with the collective in a giant time weave situation in order to get everybody back on track. That's starting today. And it's going to go until the 15th. And on the 15th, this was 2023, on January 15th, we had a time flip. So this is what is starting to connect, is this time flip. Now, for all of you, and I'm going to keep going and talk about this, but right now, for all of you that felt a frequency shift, if you had, and please write, if you're listening right now, there's 5 on here. If you had a perception shift that's happened over the next 3 or 4 days, give me a thumbs up or let me know. Because with everything I talked about yesterday and how this is lining up into October, what I want you to understand is that if you did or if you didn't, now what I mean by perception shift is there's going to be something that probably upsets you. You get into an emotional roller coaster over it. You're going to be feeling like everything is lost. This is especially for my men, because we cleared the masculine upper programs because the masculine couldn't get it together. In a lot of ways, we've been in masculine timelines for 2 years, just now coming out of it. Something's going to upset you. You're going to feel like you've lost it forever. Like, oh my God. And then this is an example. Then you're going to, but your guidance is going to be like, wait, why are you so upset? Like, chill out. Like, wait a minute, hold on. That's going to be your guidance, which is even going to frustrate you even more, because then you're going to be like, what the F balls? Like, why do I even feel like everything is lost? I mean, I'm getting the messages that nothing's lost, but it is lost because it's not right here. Then you just have a frequency shift that then shows you, oh, wait a minute. This is just a timing thing. Like, I've got to go get my frequency right. They've got to go get their frequency right. Like, I mean, that's it. That's a really good example. Well, if you've had one of those, or if you haven't, what I'm letting you know is that the next month, for sure, you're going to get a series of those, because this isn't anything personal to you. It's more like the entire collective is pulling out of that low frequency energy band, and all of y'all are rising. And as that frequency rises into these higher timelines and these higher energies that we've already got, this is why as ancients we're here. We know how to wield the organic energy a little bit. Like, This is our first time around in a long time. So, I mean, we're doing the best we can. But you're going up into that higher one that's showing you the bigger picture, that how everything just needs to be moved around in order to connect back in. And no matter who you were on this planet, you dropped frequency this past year. Some of us, it's not like you went totally back into the matrix, but it might have kind of felt like that. Maybe your spiritual abilities, or you just stopped using them. You know, it's like you had to get comfortable, or you've been like me and you've been like waiting, and like, you know, it's variations of it depending on who you are. But when you get one, realize there's a lot more coming. This is why you did it all. Because we rewrote 4 years. We rewrote 4 years. And what I feel like is lining up with this eclipse is those lanes, those 2 lanes, those timelines. The ones that you've been writing that you have no idea that you're supposed to be now. Like you're supposed to, you're a princess. You're supposed to have, you might not be able to get a job right now because you're in codes where you don't have a job. You've got a trust fund. But then you took that trust fund, and then, because you're a starseed, so then you built a whole bunch of shit off of it. And you've been, in this timeline, you've been working to connect, to get back in, because you got to connect back into that big brand that you built in the other timelines. But it was all because you had trust fund money. They stole your trust fund down here. Okay, well, all right. Well, we'll just connect it and we'll build the brand, and we'll make the brand make us rich again. Is a great example. Now you can take that apart, and you can put it in every single scene of life. But there's going to be two there. This eclipse is either you're going back into galactic command on this sun, and it's pushing you out to the hybrid space station in Pisces, which, if you're not very far along in your embodiment journey, then that's where you need to go. You need to go out here and process this shadow moon energy, but it has to do with mimics, cloning, technology, and all the hybridization that's been done off your pure DNA lines from the beginning to now. Not everything in the middle. It's from the very beginning, when everything merged and started down here in its origin, before the original humans were created and everything else. That's going to be a template. The first person that another human was formed off of and replicated from. Then you're going to have the one at the very end of that. It's the same person. But now they've gone through all the hybridization. Everybody even forgot that blood was even still down here, because it was running tech and this and this and that. Then it gets cloned. Then it gets sent into an AI bot. Then the AI bot and the clone and all that collective energy that's attached to it turns on and becomes human, connected from here to here. This galactic timeline is going to have a certain timeline. These two, the sun and the moon, merge together, understanding and putting back in the variances is going to pull you more to the middle, not one side or the other. And what I'm seeing is from two, so this is going to line up these 2 lanes. And it's literally like even 2 lane, like New Orleans. Yep. 2 lane, 2 door, TU. It's going to line up those 2 lanes. Now, once you line up those two lanes, it's like there's going to be, you might be on the higher highway. You might have a couple of people that it's in the collective that you talk spiritual stuff to, and you've been so focused on what you're building, and maybe they're on your highway. But when we're right here at this point, September 17th to 18th, you're not going to see it as much yet. You're going to start seeing it as these connect. If you have been building a higher timeline, meaning you're not just sitting there going, now there's a difference between building a higher timeline and creating a higher timeline, and then spiritually knowing that you deserve it, and you're sitting there going, okay, I know somebody's coming, but you're not making any moves to connect it. They stole my inheritance, and they stole all of our money down here, and I just want my money. Whoa, you're going to be waiting a long time. It might eventually show up in 7 or 8 years if you do it that way. The point wasn't the money. The point was, in my little analogy of being an heiress, and then I take that money, and then I build out all these new technologies in the other timelines. But then when I get down to earth, I don't have my inheritance. But what's in my codes? What I built with it all. So, I mean, even I'm describing to you how Cohu 32 got down here. So what's happening between here and the end of the year, especially as we pass through October and hinge into November, is all those little pieces and things and things that you were creating, and you know what your mission is. You know you're a writer. You know you're supposed to be interviewing people. You know you're supposed to have a TV show. You know you're supposed to be writing books. You know you're supposed to be doing cards. You know you're supposed to be like whatever your little pieces that you're putting out to the collective, because in our world there's always a collective agent with it. That is what keeps us balanced. It's when we as mass creators lose that collective part, and it becomes more selfish in nature, is what screws us up. So the next 2 to 3 months, what you're going to be doing is starting to see these two different lanes with the collective, and with what's coming out, and what you're doing is going back into your wheelhouse of what I mean, it could have started 2017, 2018 when we were all doing research. I don't know what your specialty is, okay? I don't know if you're supposed to be getting a paper out about that and it's just supposed to go up on a blog, or if you're supposed to make some tarot cards now because are basically like oracle cards with it. I don't know. I don't know what it is that all of you are creating, or even technology or digital graphics, whatever it is. But what you're going to be doing is going back and starting to create and do more 3D stuff that is going up and down and attaching into this lane, into this lane, into this lane, into this lane, because you've already written it up here. It's not something that you've never touched before. You're gonna have even ever thought about it. You might have even just wrote one word down about it, and then that was it. But it's not going to be whenever you're going back to build this over. If you have nothing to go back and pick up, well, you need to be focused right now on being completely observant and watching these two timelines emerge this month, so that and start creating a timeline and a character and a mission in the you're creating it and building it in the physical. So you're either going back to stuff that you've done before, and you're starting to pull it together now because it didn't work before, it didn't make any traction. Well, this is why we didn't have our own current on this higher timeline. As a collective, all of us doing these things, because you might not know what you're doing yet, because the collective timeline hasn't hooked up yet. Because these collective timelines are written for certain ones of us to get massive amounts of resources and assistance, and the whole thing is built to assist all of us. Kind of like an entrepreneur portal, you know. It's gravitating a bunch of us together. There might be only one of us that has money, or one of us that gets the resources, but those resources are planned for a whole bunch of people. Kind of like TikTok. It's like a collective TikTok. There'll be a ton of different ways for you to get involved and get some money coming in to sustain your life outside of a 3D corporate structure, to where you're running your own thing, whatever it is, however it is. If you need current and money, that current is going to build up between now and December, so it can go live in January. Now, this is the part, if you go back and look, if you know for sure that you're like me, and because none of our stuff has really been clicking with the collective and blasting off, because we were having to reclaim so much of this industry energy, and because it really is how the earth's harvesting energy takes place, because that harvesting's already been done. We just stole the hall. We really did come in here and take over this realm. We hijacked the realm. Why would we be able to hijack the realm? Because the realm was hijacked. All we did was mirror their shit. If you have a twin, if you're in a Bellatrix energy, and you know that you've had a mimic or twin that's been in politics, or that's been, a big industry leader, or a celebrity, or a musician, or an actor, or whatever, and you've watched them use your energy to get products out, like, it's nuts. It's fucking crazy. It's not going to be the same exact product, but it's in a catalog, it's on the internet, their stuff is out there selling. They're using your color codes and stuff like that. They might not even know you, but that energy was twined with you. I would suggest going back and looking at what they launched, when they launched it, what those, like, how it came out. Like, did they put out, if it's aligned with your stuff, like mine, like on the products, with this one particular character that I had to deal with on here, a JM character, an MJ12 character. Their stuff is all in e-commerce. It's like internet real estate. They stole your house on the internet, literally. Okay? Go back and look how they did it. Go back and look what sequence they did it. No, I'm not saying mirror it exactly. Your consciousness will tell you if to start from the end or start from the beginning. But I'm telling you that because it was already laid. So instead of us being mad right now about, well, their products are out, they're making money. I know that they stole my internet real estate, right? Well, now's the time that you're like, okay, let's see how this flowed with you. Okay, I see what's happening. I'm gonna start at the end. I'm not gonna do what you did at first. Maybe you do. Maybe you do what they did at the end. I don't know, but it's gonna put you in some type of sequence because they stole your internet real estate. It's gonna bring you back in to then put something up and out that is gonna basically steal their real estate. It won't be the same exact product. It's not necessarily like competition, but they shouldn't have stole that internet real estate to begin with, and then they didn't come partner with you like they were supposed to in order to lift you up. So all that energy is going to you now. Now you're gonna hit it. Now at some point your stuff's gonna hit. Then I guarantee they come calling. Now they're gonna want to partner. Now they're gonna want to collaborate. Okay, fine. You had to go do all that. You had to learn all that in order to collaborate with me. That's what you had to do. All right. Well, then go lose all that so that you show up and collaborate so we can start back at one so that these aren't two different things going on because they never were supposed to be two. They were always supposed to be working together to begin with. We never should have had two highways. We never should have had to build this one way up here only because you're trying to harness it way down here in order to keep these cars going unconscious. We had to take over the consciousness of the whole thing because you Masons didn't even fucking take into consideration all the frequencies that you were putting out in space. But how could you? We were the ones that you made and tracked for 7 fucking years to see how it connected so that you could try to come kill us and take over this top line. Well, that's your lesson. That's your lesson. Y'all follow me? All right, Robin's tuned up. Robin says, woohoo, day 3. I caught it live with no notification. And that does tell you that you're right where we are. And we're seeing this with other characters that I walked this with cuz y'all, the other thing that came up on this call was the only thing that the collective didn't have was one site that we were all going to where we were all represented like a Google. It's what they did everything to try to stop. They did everything to try to stop all of us putting our products on one site so that everybody is being sent to that one site like an Amazon or a Google or a TikTok or we have, and this is where as a collective, we have to fucking stop with this thinking that each one of us is going to get a whole bag right now. You're not, you in the, no matter who you are, like, if you're the one that's getting all the money, it's because you've worked your way up in business in the 3D to an extent that then in the 3D it would even be feasible for some investor to come invest certain amount. If you've never ran a shop, never ran a company, never ran anything, you're not going to be the one that's going to go connect in the 3D in order to get the first $10 million that then goes out to a bunch of groups. It's gonna match up in the 3D. You have to walk the 3D timeline pieces. So it's like that's the problem. The problem is every single one of us thinks that, okay, just the whole world owes us a bunch of money. Now, I'm not telling you that it doesn't, because it does. I'm just telling you what keeps you mentally stuck. For the past 4 years in our collective, everybody wants to open up their own website. Everybody wants to open up their own store. Everybody wants their own book, and it's just that book and everything. Well, all those books and every single one that's written connects into each other in this stuff. It's real easy to get a website up. Well, it's not easy. And I mean, in the fullest, to get a pure one up, it's a pain in the ass. that's running your frequency, and it takes a little while. It's not like just your frequency. You go and you get a WordPress thing, and then you stick it up on YouTube. I mean, you stick it up on the internet. Now you've got a website. Now you expect for just everybody to come there. No, when you're in the highest energy of this, if you're one of the leaders, if you're one of the pioneers, then what you did is you went into the internet and you had to process the whole fucking internet, and you had to you claimed your internet real estate, but your body went all the way down into an avatar to fucking do it. This is where we screwed up. This is where I come in and say the underworld, man, the underworld, they're organized. In your etheric, and when you're in your etheric and you're in creation mode, like the past year, you're in creation mode. For your mind to macro, and this is like whenever you're a CEO. See, I learned this through my CEO stage. When you're a CEO, you're always focused on what's coming 5 years ahead, 10 years ahead. The reason that my company went from nothing to 3 million in 3 years is because I'm speaking, and I was involved with getting the money to make the payroll. So my secretary would call me and go, "Oh crap, we just put on those 3 people. We need $150,000 to make payroll in 2 weeks." So I'm not focused on $70 an hour times whatever. I'm not the one in there doing the accounting. That's the secretary. I'm the CEO. I don't need to play with little $70 an hour times 200, $50 an hour times 200, right? I'm not even looking at those numbers. Whenever I'm making my calls to my to my connections at the new level, I'm like, "Okay, I need 150,000. How do we do this?" Me talking about 150,000 or talking about money in millions and not in $20, $10, $5, $1,000 is then what brings in that 1,100,000 frequency into the organization to keep building it. Whenever you first start a company and you're a CEO and you're the secretary and you're the one doing the buying and you're the one doing this and this and this and this, it's so hard because you're come up into creation, you're creating it, you see the 5 years down the road, you see all the connections, you get it planned out, and then you've got to drop your mind back into the system and be like, "All right, how the frick am I going to set up some templates? Now I've got to set up the templates. Now I've got to write the rules. Now I've got to write instructions. Now I've got to get the marketing out for that. Now I've got to da. And so what happens is you ping pong back and forth from macro to macro. Well, this is why and this is where I'm at right now. I'm like in my year 1 of GIA technology when it was just me and 2 recruiters. I didn't have a secretary. I was going up and down. Well, that's why the company doesn't just blow the socks off as soon as it opens, unless you've got 10 million you've got some investors, but then you're having to deal with them. It's its own different thing. Then their frequency is all involved in it. Then it's not just yours. Then you're having to change some things to make the board happy or whatever the hell, right? But right now with this, in my world, it's like, okay, we know Kochi, we know most of the designs, we've got Virgo ready to go up. Now I'm having to build templates to get those products pushed out. Then we're gonna have to hunker down over the rest of September and the end of October and get all that content pushed out. And I'm going to have to create and micro at the same time in order to get that done, so that November and December roll around. Now all my stuff's up on it. Now we've got a catalog. Now people are seeing, oh wow, okay, we're starting to kind of get an idea of what this brand can do, because we know all of y'all couldn't see what we could see. You didn't know what we were doing with all of this. We did. We have to show you, so that when those carts connect, and to start connecting in December and push us into January, now it's like this, we're not going to be in total etheric creation mode all the time like we were the year before. Now we're meeting with investors. Now we're doing marketing. Now we're building up marketing teams. Now we're setting up commission brackets. Now we're da 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 da. So for this whole year to roll. So no matter where this whole year to roll. So matter if you're building a company or not, I don't care. I'm using this as an example of you even building your life, even you building your character that you're stepping into. That's where we're at. And that's how those are getting set up, and even giving you the consciousness and the answers of what to bring in. Now, if you haven't been creatively and consciously creating a new timeline, you've just been claiming, and now you know, oh my God, all this shit is owed to me. Well, now's the time that you need to take a look at every single one of those experiences. Take a look at every single, like, what organizations were involved, who is it that owes you money, and put a story and create a character and create a timeline that's going to interface with some of that. Because that's how you get it. That's how you start building your brand to get your heiress money back. Whether you're doing it in the physical or you're doing it in the etheric, which then, or in making timestamps and doing imprints. Let me give you an example. When you're completely in the flow, if you're supposed to write a book, but you've had complete, like, you can't, you've got writer's block. You're like, I know I'm supposed to write a book. Source keeps telling me I'm supposed to write a book, but what the hell am I supposed to write it about? I don't have all this knowledge like Chastia does. I don't have all this and this and this and this. I don't even understand what I'm supposed to be writing about. Right? I guarantee you picked up a journal in the past 4 or 5 years and you started writing something. You started writing something. Every time you did that, I don't care if you wrote a paragraph or you just wrote a couple of sentences, or you sat there in that space and tried to figure out what the F you were going to write, and then it ended up being nothing but the date. What you were doing in the physical at that moment, at that moment in that timeline, was matching it up to a timeline where you were sitting down punching out a whole chapter or editing something. You did it in the physical. It's going to match up. The rest of that's going to start coming in. But the main thing I want to show you is that you did it in this timeline, and it's going to print down here. But you have to do it in the physical. This is the mastery. This is the part that the entire spiritual human race was not doing, because there were powers that be that were doing it for you. They were having you do all of the healing. They were having you do all of the blah, 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 blah. And then they were messing with your 4D dream so that you missed, and that you didn't sit down and write it. Because it's all in a bubble. Someone else just went up and channeled it and brought it down. That's why you got a block. The entire industry was set up Scientology, all of it. The entire thing was set up in order to blow your etheric connections up to the ascended connections so that you could, that's what they sold their souls for. They sold their souls so they could go up in frequency into our cloud of ascended codes and embody everything that we were creating through an ascension, and then come give you a character. Beyonce, Christina Aguilera, Britney Spears, even Gwen Stefani, even more, because all she was doing was going up and channeling future fashion. That's why she ended up dressing like the Japanese in the Tokyo and doing that whole well, that's all she was doing. Her energy was going up and reading what would be considered the future. Well, the future's changed now. There is no timeline for them to go up into. It was your pool. They went up into a timeline, but they came up in your swimming pool in your backyard. You're like, what the fuck? Why'd you just show up in my swimming pool? That's mine. You need to leave. Well, this is what's been claimed now. It's never been claimed before down here. Creation. And to the ones who process themselves to the point where they can come up into your pool, and they were just stealing ascended collective timelines, because that's why we fall for it. That's why you go buy the ticket. That's why you're such a Taylor Swiftie. If you really go look at Taylor Swift and look at everything that she's written, and look at her Eras tour, and look at the colors that she uses in the costuming, it's all, and how she hides these little signs in her da-na-na-na-na-na. I mean, it's obvious it's a collective thing. It's how the reality works. They're wanting you to think that Taylor Swift has all that power. They're wanting you to focus on just Taylor Swift. Oh, look, she's so freaking smart. She left a clue. Look, she's wearing the same boots that she was wearing from this and this and this, and we're gonna go create a story out of that. You're supposed to be doing that with your whole entire life. That's your story. Why is Taylor running it? Every single one of us that are following this can go back and show you on a world stage what plane crashed, why this plane didn't land, why this didn't happen, why this hurricane happened, why this tornado happened, why Russia bombed this, why Ukraine was doing this, why na is all showing up to us like a weird little Taylor Swift thing. Why is all that power going to Taylor Swift? All you're doing is giving Taylor Swift all of your power in order for her to show you some shit. Okay. Well, you're doing it too. And I'm not ganging up on anybody, because my message to all the celebrities is like, this is how you uncoil yourself. You've got to uncoil yourself from the vine, but you have to first realize what was coming in the vine and what that vine did to get you where you're at. Because you were only getting 5%, no more than 5% of the energy, when you were doing it for a faction, or when you thought you were doing it just to get the movie scripts, just to see the fashion, just to channel the songs, just to channel a collective lyric that everyone's going to hook into. Whenever you clear yourself from the vine, you're getting 100% of it. And that's where we need them all to be, because they're hybridized into the pieces that ended up making up the entire human race with this whole vaccination shift thing. The more of them that unplug from the vine, and the more of them that are put, and which is why they're all falling, which is why this, like, the Diddy shit and the J-Lo shit, I mean, all this karmatic stuff is going to start happening, but that's what's happening. They popped up in the wrong pool, and they got kicked out. We need all of them to hit their various tones to get 100% to then make a mirror of that. the next 4 years, and this 4 years that we changed is going to build and build and build and build and build year after year, like the same effed up loop that we were on, where we hit a wall or we hit a chute. Every single time it came to connect, because it wasn't time yet. But each time that you hit the wall and you hit the chute, you got a little bit further than last time. That's going to be what the lower levels are going to start feeling now. Because everybody that popped up into our pools, we already put all those pools together and created a line, and have walked it and drove it and paid for it physically with money, where to stay, paid. Even I had to make $50,000 worth of payments basically to the Illuminati. Cash over here. This is how I know that the money's all connected into it. This is also why I know that none of them came up and evened out. Why did we do it? Because when we made those money moves in 2021, we weren't making money moves in 2020 and 2021. You made investments in 1947, 1927, 1915. And when you made those money moves, they were matching up to DNA lines and moves that you might even not know who they were. But you went and opened that bank account when that production company opened. It's your pool. You proved it. Every single one of our connections from 20 to 21 that we paid for and connected and were supposed to align were then taken by the industry. And the Masons and the politics and the NATO. All of them working together. Just, okay, thanks for claiming that. That's mine. Who bought it? Chastia just connected the production company. All right, let's have it. Let's have a freaking war now. Whose is it really? Is what their mindset was, because it couldn't be hers. So whose is it really? Well, that's all linked to your Kamala Harris and your Biden shit right there. That story I just told you, because it ain't just a production company of a movie. It's production of the Matrix when you're dealing with Star Crew. I'm going to come back on here soon. Oh, yay, there's 13. Oh, yeah. Robin wrote 00100110. I've been getting 1001 time counts the past 48 hours over and over and over again. 1001. Just remember, $1001, that's a block. On 2 cells. That's 4th dimension, because there's 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have to bridge these 2 together. Now watch. You see that? Now that's going to take it to the 3rd dimension. So Robin had put these zeros are dimensions. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's going to take you up to the 7th dimension. Now look what 1, 1 makes. And I'm at life path 11, FYI. Look what that makes. It makes a lane. So energy can't come through here. It's going to bounce off and it's going to go around. Energy can't come through here. It can't even get through here. It's going to have to go over here and come off this and bounce around. Energy right here can come through right here. It can come through right here. Otherwise, it's going to whirlpool in the middle. This one is just shooting through. This one's holding. So you've got 2 right here. 1, 2. So this also equals 0, 0, 1, 0, 2, 0. Now that's 6. Now the bigger number is here, and you've got to get this one out. So the little number is always going to go to the big number. So this also equals 0, 0, 0, 3, 0, which is 5. In the ascended codes, this is the start. This is where it ends up in the reads. You're subconsciously, and the more conscious that you are and break them down, you're subconsciously doing this. When you see 0, 1, 0, 1, 1, 0 or whatever, you're subconsciously, you are coming up with this number. Your body's reading it. Your body's going to be putting it together. Your subconscious, when it sees this number in the new codes, it's pulling it to this, whether you do the math or not. The more conscious that you are, especially when you're out in the matrix. When you're out in the matrix, let's say, and this happened to me. I flipped a whole fucking timeline with a handler doing just this with an address. I was in a restaurant. And I knew that I had called him back in order to unweave for him. And we met at this restaurant, and this is somebody who knew me from before. And he's sitting there telling me, oh, so you think you have powers. You think you have gifts. You think, and I'm like, yes, I do. And we were sitting at a booth where it was a window, and it was and you could see the front door. And over the front door of the restaurant, it had the address. And I don't even remember what the address was, but it was, of course, like, I think it was 4 digits or it was 3 digits on the address. And what I told him was, see that address right there? That's 305. I'm flipping that to 08. And I'm calling this whole scene. The more conscious that you do the math real quick in your head, and it's simple math, you do what you're doing, that whole scene is flipping it up or flipping it down, because all the energy in that building is lined up under that number. You're also street signs. This is where numerology, if you're geared towards more numerology, and you're on the road Houston and you feel some type of energy, pull over and do the numerology on Houston. Because what it does is it's going to break it all down and then line it up to all the Houstons everywhere, not just your little geocode on your GIS grid, and then some shit might happen, but you're no longer getting attacked. I bet you there'll be a wreck. It won't be you. You'll get back on that road and you'll start driving and you're like, okay, this is better. I'm not feeling that energy. But then you drive up and you hear an ambulance passing you and you see a thing. Or you might not see the wreck. If you do see the wreck, then that unhinged those two timelines, and now that street in your town is running off a higher frequency. And the person who got into the wreck, trust, they're over there asking, like, don't feel bad if something happens to the person, because whoever has the wreck is who's embodying that frequency, and it's hooked into them so bad. Maybe they need the cash from the insurance, or maybe they need to go to the hospital now. Maybe they even weren't supposed to be there, and they leave the dimension, but then they come back in to finish. So don't feel bad whenever you start making these changes. You just have to know that what you're doing is lifting it up. But this is this other program. This is this 2 levels that you're going to start seeing how intertwined it is with the numbers and the words that are around you and the colors in the subliminal, and you're going to if you haven't been doing it, if you have been doing all this stuff, then all the things that you changed for the past 7 years, every fucking time you did this is lining up. And if you are just now starting this part, then that's when if you're just now starting this part right here, if you're just now starting to break open your grids and you haven't been writing it, what you have to realize is that there's a group of us in your DNA strands that were more ancient than you in some level that brought all this knowledge back in. And you have to realize that in order for you to get your solo career, because you are supposed to have a solo career, but the only reason you're going to get to the solo career is to join the band first and level up. And this is going back to this ego thing within the spiritual communities and everybody trying to be the Messiah and everybody trying to be Isis and everybody trying to be, these full-blown old none of it stands anymore. It's going to get you to a place to be able to harness this, to flip it, to get into a band frequency, to now become what you need to be with the new codes, the futuristic versions of that, and all that was made from it, with what you claimed with claiming to be the Christ or whatever else, right? Because in these new energies, it's like we brought back in that Christ energy. It wasn't just one of us, but that Christ energy is connected into the most ancient crap down here that we had to resurrect, bring back into the codes way before Christ, way before Buddha. How all of those were even projected down here. That is what knowledge brings you up to be able to write this higher creative timeline. There's only a certain Akashic library that you can get and do that. There were only certain ones of us that could pull that Akashic library in, because you saw what happened whenever parts of it got out that shouldn't have got out. All this mess we're dealing with. That is reinstated. That is what you're connecting back into. That knowledge of how to create in the 3D with your energy in a cleared up energy body in a cleared dome. And the lesson for that, and I just even said that to Dawn, when I first opened, this is why your 3D experiences matter. Whether you were conscious or not. This is where the old life that you left behind, you laid a template for it. As that way, the way that I'm kind of telling everybody what we were doing wrong in the spirit, not getting together and everybody wanting to be the leader and blah, 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 blah. I made that same mistake with my first company. I wanted to be the CEO. I'd never done it before. The whole reason I had gone and opened my own firm is because I'd worked for all these Hank Walls and Freds, and I was done dealing with I knew that what we were doing on the floor was working. The problem was, because I'd watched it. I'd helped build so many huge $25 million branches by that point. It was when it was how we were being managed that was wrong. So I wasn't wrong whenever I did that, but once I got into it and I started growing and I started and then how it all ended, whenever you put yourself up as that main person, whenever it starts rolling, that's when everybody starts freaking talking about you. And it don't even... Well, she's going and doing this, and why does she have us doing this? And she's making all this money, but we're only making this. And no. That's where that human. So with Cohu 32 and with all of this, I've literally sat and waited until the right people came around to interact with, and it's going to be set up totally different. I don't want to be the only one involved with the entire creation of every single one of it. First of all, I don't want to be doing all the creating because I need other energies in. I don't need everybody just to attach to my frequency. I need the variations of it. It's a process to learn it. You have to be real with yourself and what you know, the pieces that you've mastered and the parts that you don't have any idea about. For me, my whole business as CEO was in the service industry, is business to business, is dealing with large organizations and multi-million-dollar contracts, not products on a shelf. I don't claim to know all that. I know that I don't know all that. I know that I need those people on my team like yesterday, which is why I know they'll come. If I claim to know all that and I just start throwing shit out and taking a wild guess, then I'm going to have to go through a whole cycle of spending money, losing money, barely making any money, for me to figure out that I can't fill that space. Once I figure out that there's a space that needs to be filled, then that's when the universe brings it in. Waiting for that space to be filled might make me have to go do some shit that I know I shouldn't have to be doing, like all of it, like right now. However, I know that whenever I do get it done to my best ability, knowing what, as much as I know, not trying to just guess and act like I've got that experience, because I don't, then as soon as the right person sees my brand, they're going to go, oh my God, I know how I can make this massive. And I'm well aware. I don't know that. I'm going to listen. You can take that same example in the spirit and in the ethers. And what everybody needs to realize in the spiritual world is all this went digital. Every single etheric character, every Buddha, every Christ, every Lilith, every single archetype went digital. No human form. It created its own thing. It created its own net. And that's the piece that most of the spiritual community did not have, because you weren't hybridized to the extent that most of the ancients were. It doesn't make anybody more than the other. Each of you are important, and each of you will be highlighted at different times throughout the journey. Because 10 years from now, once this all gets built up, everybody's going to start forgetting about who built the foundation. Now it's a new group's time to shine. That's fine. Is a great example. All right. I think that's it. 72, 42, 766. So go back and watch this. And what I'm gonna do more and more of, because we're walking this through day by day, and as you notice, I'm on here a lot more because it's a conscious brand. This stuff is tuned to help you write and bring in the energy with the sun or with your Venus when they all come out. You know, which energies do you want around you? It's giving you the conscious, because it's embedded in the fiber to do the different things that you need to do. To bring in different etheric orbs from the digital to the colors, down to the breaking everything up to zero. And what we'll be doing next is going, and I'm going to print the different versions because now we do have this up on the website, so all of you can get and do your own chart and find out your energies and get your story, because you want to know what you're vibrating at in order to be able to fit in these star counts that are all lining up over the next 4 years to pull you up. The more that you consciously know what rays you're at And then we'll have another activity book that we're going to be developing. But this is where we're at right now. And then how to get your energies on a chart to show you your story, because it's going to be written, your story, according to this, not astrology, according to the energy rays and how they connect and what sigil that makes and how that's balancing, is going to float up into this collective timeline and stick or bounce around to get you where you need to. It's under, oh, thank you, Robin. It's on the website, cohu32.com. And I do have a QR code that when I do the video, but if you want to do it right now, it's under Digi Downloads. We haven't changed the categories. The website's going to be changing, so you can follow around. But it's under Digi Downloads, which on the main page, it's going to be under the thing that says get. Actually, if you just click on that box on the main page when the wheel pops up, if y'all hold on just a second, I'll grab my other phone. Hold on. Let me show you where to go get it. And as soon as you send the, well, Michelle's gone right now. She's not in the office. She'll be back on. I can try to send you, but I might have to forward it. Michelle has all the archives of all this, so you might not get it until the 13th or 14th, but we're going to send you an email according to your PayPal. And you can print more of these. Everybody that's done them is doing, and that's why they're $30, because I'm giving you the whole thing so that you can do a few of them to do your whole family. Because you're going to have everything that you need to do it. This is going to be, that's the digital chart. I'm checking. I think it's here because we're having to get, well, this is the digital chart. My bad. If you don't want to do the coloring book and you want to get a chart like this, it's $55. We'll do it for you. Okay? There's where that one is. You can get there a couple of ways. If you're on the site and you just scroll down from this, then this is where the categories, and this is where Kochi is going to be, because Kohu Closet's coming out of there. Digi Downloads. And this is where you can get the 444, which is included in your, you get the 444 with your coloring book. There it is. Why is it? There it is. It's at the very bottom. It's the last thing on the Digi download. And we send it to you in an email. So you'll get all these, or the printable, and then you'll get 2 color pages. That's this drawing, because this is all of the rays lined up where they're supposed to be. There's there's number 1, there's number 2, this all goes around. This is what you use to guide you through this into getting your chart. This one you can just color. This is Aries, so you can just color them yellow with blue, blue with yellow. There's only one. This is helping you. This is helping you remember the colors when you do this. And I don't have the 444 up in the house right now. It's downstairs. But this is the 444, and it's gonna have And that's $4.44. But if you just want this, because you know how to pull your chart, and then this is going to have all the names, all the numbers, all the degrees, and like a short description of that energy. And and I really don't want to get all off into this, but this walks you through, because I'm going to do one real soon. It walks you through going through your whole chart, and you color these different circles, the different colors as you walk through it. If it's a star ray, because they're all important, but we have to start somewhere. So we align. It's like at the beginning of this, you're going to align your stars. You're going to figure out which planets are on certain energies. As you get more understanding of it, then you're going to start realizing the energy of the in-betweens. But we've got to align you with the light first so that it can show the in-betweens. And it walks through your entire chart, and it tells you a little bit about what these houses mean. And man, this aligns your orb through energy frequency, not through deeds, transactions, liens, stories, in a mass collective. So I'll be back more with that. I love y'all. We did all this together. That's also why most of our stuff is going to be, we did our very best to make this as inexpensive as possible. It's why we've automated it the way that we've automated it. And when you do it, 3 days. I want, whenever you get it and you do it, I want you, whether or not you get to this drawn part or not, because I want to come on and show y'all some little hacks on that. Just getting all this in there, chart 3 days. You're gonna have a download. You're gonna have an activation. You're gonna have a perception shift. You draw your chart 3 days after that, and then that goes on your calendar, and it is gonna be activating for a year. Going to be activating for 12 months. The brand is so simple, y'all. It really is. You don't have to memorize all these different Neanderthal, all these different DNA counts and everything else. All you're memorizing is 32 degrees. 32 sets of degrees. And different ones in different houses. And as soon as you kind of start and then understand, and then you're slowly understanding how these are all connected in 2 different DNA counts, in 2 different matrices, right? But it's not hard. It's not hard. You just kind of got to erase everything that you know for a minute and just realize everything that you know is going to line about any human history down here. About how things were built, about how, because this is what the monarchs had that no one else had. All they were doing was start charting stars, but they couldn't even do it without us. Okay? So that's how you find it. If you do it today, then you'll get it by the 14th, and I might try to email it to you, because normally we have a different process. I might try, but we'll go back and forth, but we'll be utilizing your email address. Okay? So I love y'all. Command to connect to the highest timeline. 152.